Hello and welcome to the Pandaverse. I'm Elgon Williams, the E in C&E.
And I'm Christine, the C in the C&E.
And today we're going to do something a little different. We're going to mix things up because one of us has a new book.
It's not me.
Oh, must be me.
It must be Elgon.
Hang on a second. What's this?
What is it? What is it? Oh, look at it.
Ooh.
Oh, I love it. It's so beautiful.
And just to prove that it's a real book, it does have print in the inside.
It has words and everything.
Yeah. There's the back cover.
Look at that.
Look at that. That's me without a beard.
Oh, so tell us what's your book, Elgon. Tell us all about it.
Well, it's called Ninja Bread Castles, as you can see from the title, and it picks up where Fried Windows ends, with Brent falling through a van window to escape his captors. And the window serves as a metaphor here because it's something that separates the inside from the outside. And during the course of Fried Windows, Brent spent almost the entire book trying to get the fragments of his memory back together.
Right.
And also to get his inside and outside parts into sync. And so his choosing to fall through a window divides him once more into two parts. And the story follows his divergent paths. And in one of the worlds that he ends up in, he's surrounded by vultures while he's stuck in muck in New Orleans City dump. But this isn't the real New Orleans. It's an alternate universe version of New Orleans where spirits, like ghosts and the living coexist. They function together in a society. And then in the other world, he comes to in a roadside ditch out in the middle of eastern Texas, and he's outside of a city called Tyler. And his journey from there is to reconnect his two halves while still avoiding being recaptured by the program. In the alternate universe New Orleans, he has to clear himself of past murder charges that he encountered when he was a young man, and the program got him out of trouble in New Orleans. But those charges still hang over his head because he was never supposed to return to New Orleans.
And he did.
Yeah.
So why don't you tell everybody about your first book? Tell them about tell them the title and how the two correlate.
Well, the first book is called Fried Windows in a Light White Sauce.
Best title ever.
Yeah, and that title is explained early on in the book, so you don't have to wait as long. Now, the title for Ninja Bread Castles is also explained in the book, but it happens a little later on. Fried Windows was inspired by a poem that I wrote when I belonged to an online group. Most of the people that were in that group were poets, and they were always challenging me to write poetry. And I personally think I suck at poetry. But I caved in and wrote a poem about, being a kid and going to the carnival, and all the sights and colors and smells and, everything associated with that. They reacted very favorably to that poem, and they challenged me to write some more on that subject, but, I'm not going to write another poem. So I ended up writing a couple of short stories that were related to one another. And that was actually the foundation for Fried Windows. And I had the title Fried Windows before I started writing the book. I think that was probably the easiest way to deal with Fried Windows.
Yeah.
because it's a crazy title, right?
It's a great title.
You'd have to have the title make sense to the reader at some point. So.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so what is your favorite book? What book do you absolutely absolutely love, and tell us why.
You mean something I wrote or something somebody else wrote?
Either one.
Either one. Well, my favorite book that I've written is always the most recent one that I've written. So, I mean, it's your book baby, so you have to take care of your baby. So you spend most of your
Right.
time until it's out in the world and it's established and everything. So, I mean, that makes sense. But my favorite book that somebody else wrote, it's a book that nobody else can read right now. So it's called 9 Days, and it's a sequel to 10 Days by Jules Silva.
Oh,
So
that's really nice.
that's my current favorite book. So,
Wow, Jewel, if you watch this, look at that, Elkins. You have a fan.
yeah, I can't wait for her next book. Her next book's going to be called 8 Days.
Nuh-uh, I don't believe you.
8 Days, yeah.
Oh, that's a real nice compliment. I'll have to make sure that Jewel gets that little compliment. So what are you working on now? What's next?
Well, the next book in the Fried Windows series is called Dead Men Don't Wear Watches, which is another title that's going to have to be explained, of course. But it's kind of a murder mystery that's set in Los Angeles, but it also takes Brent other places. And there's a hint about what all this is about in Ninja Castles. So it sets up what's going to happen in the next book while it's completing everything. So it ties up a lot of the loose ends that are created in Ninja Castles. And there may be a fourth book. I haven't decided yet.
Uh-oh.
I have more than enough material to make a fourth book, but I don't know if it's really necessary. See, I write a lot of background material,
Yeah.
and the background material that I've composed for Brent there's a lot of tangents to travel down, and maybe that's not necessary for the books to explain the books, but it is necessary to understand Brent's character. For me when I'm writing it, I've posted a couple of those things, which are I actually took the background material and made books out of it, and I posted those on my Medium page in serial form, so you can read it as chapters. If you go to www.elgonwilliams.medium.com, you can read those for free.
Nice.
And
Now,
both of those books are now up there, and it's key to understanding some of what's going on in Ninja Castles. So if you want more background information on Brent's history with the character Pam, that's a ghost that he travels through a world with. You want to know his background with her, read about Brent's high school experiences, because that's what those books are about.
Well, Brent's been around for a while, right? So how long have you been writing, Elgin? Has it been since like you were born?
I was a child when I started writing. I didn't start writing right out of the womb, but my mom said
Pretty close.
said the first thing that I grasped in my hand was a pencil. So
It was destined.
I must have had something to say from straight away.
Well, how long did it take you to write this book?
This book took a while because I had a lot of distractions, doing marketing for Panda Moon, and also I had to write a lot of other material to support what was going on with Brent so I would understand it.
Right.
So I wrote, the Becoming Superman series in between Fried Windows and Ninja Castles. So I wrote 3 published books between Fried Windows and Ninja Castles. Also, I wrote a lot of the story that's coming next in Dead Men Don't Wear Watches. So I've been busy.
Yeah, I would say just a little bit. Yeah.
We also have the Wolfcat Chronicles. Are getting ready to be published, or the first in that series is getting ready to be published. So you know, there was
So how many
some
books
work
does that make for you? How many total books have you got published? Like total ever? It's like since the beginning of
total ever.
time.
I don't know, seven, I think.
Wow. That's pretty
But
good.
I've got like the rough drafts of about 40 books, but probably about 20 are in a stage of development where they could be finalized and published. 10 of those books are the Wolfcat Chronicles. So
Now,
those
do
are
you have
pretty well finished.
Yeah, I can't wait for those. Those are the ones I'm looking forward to. That's like my stuff there. That's what I want to read.
There's a scene at the conclusion of the next book in the Fried Windows series that ties directly into the 9th book of the Wolfcat Chronicles. So those two books are connected by something that happens by an event on both sides.
Oh, nice. So do you have any like writing quirks that you want to share with us? Like, what do you like? Do you listen to music when you write, or does it have to be complete silence, or like what are your writing quirks?
I used to listen to music while I was writing like years ago, but I've been in a phase where I'm revising books, and I can't be distracted by a lot of things when I'm writing revisions.
Yeah.
So and doing edits. So usually I don't listen to music while I'm doing that. But when I'm composing books, I'll have some music on in the background, and you know, usually I create like a playlist of music that I listen to with different books. So I'll have to put one of those together for Ninja Castles.
Yeah, yeah. You'll have to get me that, and we'll have to share that with your readers.
Well, it's going to have, for revisions in those periods, it's going to have a lot of music from The Warning on it, I'm pretty sure. But
No, I don't like sure. I mean, that's like your favorite band in the whole world.
yeah, right now they are. Yeah.
So, did you think it was harder to write the first book in the series, or did you think it was harder to write the second book? Which one do you think was harder to write?
The second book, sequels are harder to write. I don't know why, but maybe it's because the other one's out. You know, you'd think it would be easier to write because the characters are already developed. So all you have to do is just carry them forward. But there's a lot of things that you have to do. Plus, you're limited by what happened in the past book. You have to make everything fit because the other books are already published. I didn't have that problem writing the Wolfcat Chronicles because I wrote all 10 of them in sequence and I could go back and fix things, which is a entirely different problem to have. When you write something in book 6 that requires you to go back in book 1, 2, and 3 and fix something, you have to spend a lot of time with it. It took me about 7 years to write the rough draft for the Wolfcat
Wow.
Chronicles. So
I am super excited about those. Like super, super excited.
you get to find out what Wolfcats were really like in the past.
Yeah, yeah, I know.
This is their origin story and their origin world.
So we both know that writing can be like emotionally draining and stressful. So do you have any tips for aspiring writers? Like how can we tell them to keep, keep going, keep going after you get past all of this, it's smooth sailing. Or is it smooth sailing? Maybe I'm making it up.
Well, I think most people aren't independently wealthy, so they have to work. So that adds a lot of stress into your life, especially if you're a writer, because you don't really have much of a choice about writing.
Right.
Because it's something that you just do. You have to set aside time to write pretty much every day. And you have to figure out how that's going to work into your schedule between work and everything else in your life. And it's even more complicated if you have a family that you have to take care of, and dogs and cats and
As
everything
you heard
else.
earlier, dogs.
What you need to do is decide whether you're better at writing after you come home from work or before you go to work. So you may have to wake up early to write things, or you may have to stay up a little later to write things. And it only needs to be an hour or two, maybe 3, that you just sit down and write. And you're going to lose some sleep over it.
Oh, yes.
And
yeah,
and
it is
you're going
emotionally
to
draining. It
and
really
you're
is.
going to use your days off to catch up on your sleep and catch up on your writing, and you're going to write during your vacations. You're going to have a lot of staycations.
Yeah.
Those are going to be your priorities, but you have to prioritize your writing to get it accomplished. If you don't, you're going to end up with a bunch of half-finished stories and rough drafts, and drawers
Yeah.
full of wasted time that you've spent trying to develop stories. And that's sad, because those things will never see the light of day. No one will ever enjoy reading them, and they're probably good stories.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, you had to have done a ton of world building for your books. I mean, the world that you have created is just so amazing. So tell us a little bit about that. Like, how much world building takes place before you start writing?
Well, with me, it's probably a little different than it is with other people. But having said that, everybody has their own system down, and they have to come by their own system, their own technique. When I was in college, I started writing a book called Tarot. That was really the first book that I ever completed anything of book length. And, before anybody asks, am I ever going to publish that? No, it's terrible.
Is it about tarot cards?
Yeah, the characters in it are loosely based on the major arcana
Okay.
of tarot,
Sure. Yeah.
which required me to study tarot cards and
Yeah.
do a lot of investigation with people who do tarot readings, and I learned to do tarot reading at one point.
Wow.
I'm not great at it, but I became good enough to tell people's fortunes at parties and stuff. So, it was funny, but I would always put the caveat in there. I don't know what I'm doing. Okay, so. But there's pieces of that book that appear in everything I've written since. So it was a worthwhile endeavor in that sense. And it also acquainted me with creating story arc and also doing some world building, although most of that book took place in the real world. It also identified some characters that came along later, although I didn't call them that at the time, but they are wolf cats now.
Right.
So
Right.
so that became the foundation piece for all my world building and character development that followed years later. Between writing, finishing that book, and finishing the next book, which is the first book that I published. The first fiction book that I published, let me say that, because there is a nonfiction book that I published while I was in the Air Force. I served in the Air Force. I had experiences in other countries and got married, had kids.
Oh, yeah.
Went to work in retail for years and years and years.
I'm sorry.
somewhere in that, I started writing again, and wrote the foundation for a story that ended up being called 1/X, and that was the first book that I published.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember you telling me about that book.
Yeah,
So out of all of these books that you've written, okay, which character is your favorite? Who's your favorite character that you have created?
it's not, a lot of people would say, well, yeah, it's definitely Brent because he appears
That's
in
what I would say.
every damn book that you write, but it's not. My favorite character is actually Straub
I
in
knew it.
in
I
Pride
actually knew it.
Windows.
Yes.
She was the most
Yes.
fun to write
Oh yeah. Yeah, I love Straub.
because she just says some really off the wall things. And at first, when you first meet her in Pride Windows, you think this lady is out there. She is crazy. But by the 11th chapter, you're like saying, she's a genius. She sees all these things, very insightful. She understands what's going on. And nothing's changed about her. It's you, in the course of reading the book, have decided that you now
Right.
understand the character. So
Aw,
she was a lot of fun to write.
that's great. So what was your inspiration for Fried Windows and Ninja Bread Castles, and what inspired you to write these?
At the time, I was unemployed. I just left retail. I wasn't in the best position to do that, but if I didn't do that at the time that I did, I'd probably be dead today from all the stress that I was under.
Yeah, I feel that.
And I was abusing alcohol and everything else, and it was I was not in a good situation, and I was basically on my way to becoming homeless, and I started writing, you know, the Fried Windows story, which it was kind of off the top of my head, and it came out. It's about 10 years and 1 month ago that I started writing it.
It was
That's
meant to be written. It
it
saved
meant
your
to be.
life.
And I had all these other stories that I'd written before and never did anything with, but I wrote this. A year after that, I decided I was going to submit it as installments to a magazine, and they rejected the first one. So I said, well, there goes that idea. So I decided to go back through and I recompiled it as a book. And then I got an email from Sarah Kramer saying that Panda Moon Publishing was accepting submissions, and I'd never heard of Panda Moon Publishing, but I did some nosing around on the internet and saw that they had a website and explained their philosophy, and it kind of agreed with what I thought was a good idea for publishing, because they wanted to be very supportive of the authors and everything. And I said, nah, what the hell? The worst that can happen is they reject me, right? So I sent them
Right.
the manuscript that I had just created, and the rest is history.
Yeah. And
If I
how
hadn't
long has it been
if I
now?
hadn't done that, I would have never met you. I would have never met
I
anybody.
know. Could you imagine a life without me in it? Ah, I couldn't imagine my life without me. That's for
Yeah,
sure. Yeah.
there would be no C&E show. Jeez.
Oh, that makes my heart beat. That's a terrible thought, Elgin. So, how many plot ideas are just waiting to be written? Do you have like a million more ideas just swirling around in that head, just waiting
Yeah,
to be typed out?
yes and no, because it depends on the time of the day.
Fair enough.
I mean, every time you wake up, the dream that you just finished is a plot idea. I mean,
Yeah.
it could be something. Now, normally you don't do anything with it because 10 minutes after you wake up, you go, God, that was a silly dream. I've been thinking about doing something with, like, you think about all the conspiracy theories that you've heard, in the
Right.
world. What if all those were true? And, you create a world where, all those conspiracy theories are actually true.
That'd be
And,
scary.
I don't write horror
I was
stories,
gonna
but
say that just sounds like you're about
that
to
would
write a
be,
horror novel.
that would be a real horror story to write.
You could probably write one mean horror novel, Elgin. I think you could do it.
But I'm not, I like reading challenging mysteries, but not necessarily horror books. Probably the closest I've come to reading a horror book recently was reading Laura Ellen Scott's latest book, which
Oh
hasn't
yeah.
come out yet. So I can plug that book too. That's a good book to look forward to. It's called Bluebilly. A lot of death in that book.
She's a talented writer. I mean, her and Jewel both are. We're so lucky to be surrounded by so many talented writers.
Yeah, she's got a knack. And then you've got some other books coming out too that are
Yeah.
we got some real good things coming out. You got a book, it'll be the next book that comes out from Panda Moon. It's called The Grays,
Oh yeah,
which
aliens.
it's a coming of age story about a teenage alien in high school.
It's gonna be great.
It's pretty
We
well.
need some
It's pretty
alien
well,
books in our life.
it's pretty well done. It's a fun story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm excited. So tell everybody where they can find you, Elgin. Where can we find you and where can we find Ninja Bread Castles? And what day does it release?
Well, it releases tomorrow.
Woo!
So if you're seeing this, it's probably already available. And it's available at Amazon. It's available in print. It's available right now in print because you have to publish the print book before you publish the ebook. But if you prefer the ebook will be available at midnight, tomorrow. You can find out more about me. I've got a website, elgonwilliams.com. I've also I've told you about the Medium, Elgon Williams at Medium, or elgonwilliams.medium.com. And you can also find out more about me by going to Panda Moon Publishing's website. That's pandamoonpub.com.
Yes. Yay. I'm super excited for your book release tomorrow. In fact, you've got an event tomorrow, right? In the forest.
Yeah, I'm taking over your Facebook group, and I'll be at the forest, and we'll do some fun and games, and maybe you can drop by and say hi.
Of course, I'm going to drop by and say hi. Heck yeah. I wouldn't miss it for the world. Yeah.
Your group's approaching 1,000 people pretty soon.
Yeah. I'm really excited. I've got some wonderful members.
We'll have to figure out something to do to celebrate 1,000.
Yes.
And one of the things I was thinking of is maybe, like what I was telling you that I did for the event, little clips, answering questions, things like that.
Yeah.
Maybe we can do that with some Panda Moon publishing authors.
That would be so much fun. Yeah.
And have them show up because we can post videos on the website.
Yeah, that would be so great. We should absolutely do that. Yeah. Oh, well, I'm excited about tomorrow. And of course, I will own your book because I own all of your books because I just own them all. That was crazy. All right, everybody. Well, Elgin, I'm so excited that I got to interview you today. And I'm really excited for your new book. And everybody, please run out and buy his book and just hold it and see how awesome it is. Because Elgin is a very good writer. His stories are very good.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
Anytime, E. All right. And I guess everybody have a great night.
All right. Good night, C.